Good morning, everyone. We'll need to mute you. Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for having me. I apologize for the technological difficulties. I'd like to start by paying my respects to the traditional owners on the lands on which we meet. For me here in Sydney, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, I'd also like to pay my respects to the elders past, present, and also pay my respects to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. It's fitting that given the rich history of storytelling and Indigenous culture, that I'll seek to bring you on a pictorial journey around how the family unit has been transformed through the recent ages. Let's start with the 1950s. So, Mom is making dinner as she washes over a couple of children. One child is doing homework, the other is reciting facts from a leather-bound almanac Uncle Harry gave the family for Christmas. They're all together around the kitchen table. The one telephone in the house is stuck to a wall nearby. They're waiting for Father, the breadwinner, to arrive home from his office job. Hugs and kisses all around when Daddy walks through the door. Later, the family sit together for a meal of meat, starch, and veg, as each talks about their day. No one interrupts because manners and respect are also on the menu. It's a time when children are seen and not heard. Following the meal, everyone pitches in to clear the table and wash the dishes. To finish the evening, they all sit around the small black and white TV and watch their favorite show, a lighthearted family sitcom like I Love Lucy or Father Knows Best. It's lights out around 9 p.m. Fast forward a few decades, and what's happened to this traditional scene by 1978? Well, the kitchen appliances Mom uses can do more things and much faster. The ritual of discussing each other's day over dinner remains much the same. However, the food is a little more exotic. Perhaps a little spaghetti bolognese or a sauté chicken stir fry. For most families, the television is in color. The TV's evening viewing might include The Brady Bunch, Gilligan's Island, the 6 p.m. news, The Sullivans, and for the more liberal parents, Prisoner or Charlie's Angels, my personal favorite of the day. The most risque thing on television is probably Farrah's tight flares, or perhaps Ginger's pout. And the closest thing to a computer in most households is a golf ball typewriter. And now look at the typical household today, if there is such a thing. Today, our appliances are smart and connected to the internet. We are the living embodiment of the Internet of Things. Some of these devices even talk to us. We operate ovens, washing machines, refrigerators, heaters, coffee makers, and other devices remotely, with precision and sometimes from a mobile phone app. At home, everyone's in different rooms, on different devices, doing different things. The kids are on their favorite platforms. One perhaps building a Minecraft empire, another getting fashion inspo on Insta, while yet another is chasing villains on Roblox. They are chatting to fellow gamers in what we call a commingled environment, with other kids, occasional foul-mouthed teens, and adults, some of whom may live in another hemisphere. The parents, and perhaps there's only one, are doing their thing, checking Facebook, WhatsApp, scrolling through their Twitter feed, or ordering tomorrow's school lunches in-app. Now, Mom is enjoying a glass of her favorite Shardy because, let's be honest, by this time of day, she deserves one. By the way, this bears absolutely no resemblance whatsoever to my personal experience. I prefer Pinot Grigio one. So, after dinner, it's the dishwasher that does the heavy lifting. Mom and Dad, or maybe Mom and Mom, or maybe it's just Dad, answer a few work emails and do some online banking. Free-to-air television is no longer the entertainment mainstay. Instead, the family has a choice of streaming services: Netflix, Stan, Prime, Binge, and Disney, just to name a few. The adults in the house settle into their favorite series on Netflix, let's say. The youngsters retreat to their rooms to chat up the latest happenings on Snap, TikTok, or group chat. It's a family, yes, but it isn't quite together like the families of the 1950s or even the 70s. The parents or carers or whoever was in charge don't have the same oversight or control of what their children are doing. They're not always co-playing or co-gaming together either. Sometimes we're just happy for the kids to be lost in their devices as the digital babysitter so that we can relax after a long day of chaos and toil. So, did any of you recognize yourself in one or more of those scenes? Now, I wasn't there for the 1950s, but I was there for the other two. Now, it is hard to deny that technology has changed everything. And the pandemic supercharged these challenges because we all spend so much more time at home, in front of our screens. The brutal reality is that technology has continued to advance unencumbered, and it's left us with a complex morass we must now navigate. And we seem to have surpassed that long-held adage of everything in moderation when it comes to technology use today. Technology has fulfilled its promise in some respects, no doubt. It has been the genesis of enormous progress in the world. However, it has broken its promises in many other ways, such as the safety of children and the overall mental well-being of people. So it is a privilege for eSafety to be the regulatory agency at the vanguard of this burgeoning movement to help our citizens navigate these murky waters and to help chart a course towards a safer, kinder, and more civil online world. Now, when I walked into eSafety 5.5 years ago, there was a staff of 35 people. We were called the Children's eSafety Commissioner. We could investigate cyberbullying for young people, and we could investigate illegal and harmful online content, mostly child sexual exploitation material. We also had a small team developing education materials for young people, parents, and teachers. At that time, only 50% of children and young people would talk to a trusted adult when something went wrong online. Only 5 years ago, things were very different in terms of who we are and what we were doing and how we were doing it. And reflecting upon some of the meetings I just had in Canada, where they are now seeking to set up a digital safety commissioner, there are so many online issues they feel they need to address now. So I'm frankly grateful that we started small and with the most vulnerable cohort, children, because we were able to learn and to grow and to build public confidence over time. Of course, we had to learn fast, and our learning continues. We're also helping other countries around the world learn from us as they build their own online safety regulatory regimes. Our 2022 Mind the Gap research reveals much about today's online experiences for children and young people. I'll start with the positives. The research shows that almost all children surveyed took action in response to a negative online experience. And this is very encouraging. Children are more knowledgeable about what they can do to protect themselves online. They now have the skills and the confidence to use online tools to block, delete, mute, and even change their privacy settings. They're confident enough to report violent material to a website or to a social media platform. More than 2/3 of children also tell their parents about negative online experiences. And this help-seeking behavior, confiding in parents or another trusted adult, has risen significantly in recent years. And this has been something that we've been measuring from the get-go to ensure that our educational resources, pedagogies, programs, and outreach are resulting in real and meaningful behavioral change. But the research revealed a few other things. It shows that there is a major schism between what kids experience online and what parents think their children are experiencing. It shows that parents underestimate the prevalence of children's negative online experiences. For example, 71% of young people had seriously harmful content online, but only half of their parents were aware. This includes content about violent sexual material, drug taking, suicide, self-harm, and unhealthy eating patterns. Children may not be telling their parents about experiences that are embarrassing or sensitive, or about experiences that concern what they might consider to be stigmatizing topics. They also fear device denial, so don't want to risk panicking their parents. Parents also have a limited awareness about their children's experiences with cyberbullying. Even when children come to them to speak about it, there is an undeniable digital disconnect between parents and their children. And we also know that children in much more restrictive parenting environments are less likely to be exposed to harmful content. However, these same children are also less likely to engage in supportive and protective online activities and to develop the digital resilience they so sorely need. So what did we learn from this research? There needs to be a balance between parents mandating restrictions with allowing their children more freedom to explore online, particularly as they mature. With 42% of Australian children having access to a digital device by the age of 2, up to 94% by the age of 4, we parents do need to be the front lines of defense. We are the best firewalls, and we set them and us up for better success if we talk early and often about technology use and by keeping those conversations open. We also need to deploy parental controls, set reasonable time and app limitations, and also ensure that kids are using technology in open areas of the home. But digital parenting also needs to evolve as children grow older. Only then will we be able to better respond to young people's encounters with harmful content and conduct. And there are some crucial questions that we need to ask. What else can we do to narrow the awareness gap between parental perception and their child's reality? And how can we help parents have meaningful conversations with their kids about technology use? Now, putting time travel aside, this all says nothing of the experiences of the many types of families that make up modern Australia. There's been a global rise in the demographic of children with what might be termed non-traditional families. So it's time to recognize different variations of the modern family unit. For example, what might the typical experience be today in kinship families, where there is only one device per household? And does that household even have a decent internet connection? And what of multi-generational families, including those where parents and grandparents have English as their second language? The children all do their best to translate today's technology for the grown-ups who are unaware of how the children are using their devices. The issue is even more striking with newly arrived immigrants and refugees. Our research shows that not only do these families have more challenges accessing safety information, but they're also more at risk of online harms such as cyberbullying or cyber abuse. Sometimes there's not only a tech literacy divide within the family, but a cultural divide too. Mom and dad may want to watch the latest from Bollywood while the kids are hooked on The Voice. There may be a hierarchy around who controls the technology in the household and who gets technology access and when. Our culturally and linguistically diverse families present other more nuanced challenges. What some people from a called background do online today for acceptance in their peer group is so counter to their parents' heritage that it could literally generate great offense within the family. Technology has a way of percolating issues that can damage some families beyond repair, ruthlessly exposing that cultural and generational divide. And it's all fine having primary prevention strategies, but if we don't tailor these strategies for the many different types of families in Australia today, then we will miss the mark. What about children in foster care or out-of-home care? Many of these young people may not have a regular school schedule, so they may miss out on the online safety basics. They may have devices with little to no oversight. They may not have anyone warning them of the dangers of meeting someone in the real world that they have met online. We have single-parent families, co-parents, blended families, step families, foster families, grandparent families, and rainbow families. We have parents in prison who face the challenge of parenting from afar without regular access to a communications device. When we talk about families today, we have to talk about the spectrum of families and realize that there is not one solution that fits all. And there probably never was. This is why we are dedicating extra resources to help diverse families recognize and prevent harmful behaviors online. We call it our Families Capacity Building Project. We want to give diverse parents and carers and those from marginalized communities the primary education they need to prevent harms from happening in the first place. And a safe, compassionate, and inclusive place to report abuse to ease safety when things do go wrong online. Overall, we want to build community support and resilience. So we are co-designing these resources by working alongside local community partners. And we will use new communications channels to give parents and carers the skills and confidence they need to play their role, especially those parents and carers who do not know what e-safety can do for all families. We certainly love our tech in Australia. We're a nation of early adopters. The reality of today's family life is that we are positively devoted to our devices. The average household in Australia has about 20 devices connected to the internet. Think about your own household and how you'll soon get to a number you would never have thought possible even 2 years ago. The latest research says that nearly 2/3 of Australian households have at least one smart home product. That's 6.3 million homes. More than 1 million of these households have bought internet-connected home products since 2020. Smart speakers, smart lighting, and smart security cameras top the list. Although smart may be in this number. Other research shows that average smartphone user had 40 apps installed on their mobile phone. And on average, we spend at least an hour and a half each day watching streaming services. So understandably, it's hard for parents to keep up. For us, they are the most difficult cohort for us to reach. And that's no surprise, given all the theory. Parenting is complex, even in the best case scenario. Perhaps some parents are not so active when it comes to monitoring devices. We can't leave it all for schools. We cannot leave children to their own devices, online devices either. How do we get this whole community wrapped around the approach to support the children who want people using technology in a safer way? And then help them to know where to go when things go wrong. How do we get parents through those awkward conversations about coming across violent pornography with choking and asphyxiation online? Or even sharing mutilate images of someone they really, really love right now online. This requires different types of conversations. It requires having conversations earlier than you might expect or even want. Again, technology has changed everything. And then COVID supercharged everything even further. COVID has changed how kids act and interact online and in the real world. For a time during lockdowns and isolation periods, parents were the sole custodians of their kids for the longest period of time they've ever been. As life returns to some type of normalcy, we heard stories of parents taking matters into their own hands when things go wrong on social media. This may resonate with some people on this call and this meeting. We're all in a new normal, and we completely know all the ways that COVID has changed us. We still don't know how COVID has shaped children's development or socialization. In recent months, schools have told us that children and young people are not socialists if they have not been around each other for so long. We've been about mental health crises, exacerbated by periods of lockdown and a return to this. We saw a surge in image-based abuse as people separated from loved ones resorted to individual intimacy tools, and eventually those consented to were shared without consent online. We've also seen scammers and extortionists, many from the domicile overseas with ties to organized crime, playing upon people's best instincts and worst fears. We've got more variation of sexual extortion scams that ensnare young people and adults alike, despite numerous public alerts and entreaties not to pay for sexual extortion. And we saw a 60% spike in image-based abuse reports over the long Easter weekend in 2020. And this is continually elevated. Our investigators are looking at new insights every day. When engaging with parents, we are seeing what you see on this slide. I cannot tell you how common this dire scenario around sexual extortion is becoming. The risks are high, and not only for imminent harm, but also for the socialization of an entire generation. issues that we're dealing with in the classroom and in the schoolyard are also becoming more complex. So our conversations need to be more sophisticated and deeper too. We are more aware of the nuanced needs of particular audiences, so we are working on tailoring co-design responses. We're working with children caught up in domestic and family violence, where perpetrators use technology to directly abuse their children. Or they give the GPS device to the child and then use them as pawns to monitor, stop, and intimidate the entire family, especially the mother, or the abusive messages. What does the parent? So it's not just the safety of the child that we need to be aware of, it's the safety of the entire family. If you look at child sexual exploitation material, our investigators saw that material double. They also saw an increased incidence of child sexual exploitation material produced by children themselves, sometimes forged remotely by predators, but other times mimicking or acting out sexual scenes that they explain through readily accessible and much more violent online pornography. Certainly the pornography that we used to see in Dad's penthouse in the software. And sadly, these elevated levels of online abuse have shown no signs of abating. What we're seeing represents an alarming new normal, especially in the fight against the spread of child sexual exploitation material. We commissioned research by Dr. Michael Salter at UNSW last year, and we found that this was a universal problem, and that both law enforcement and hotlines were seeing a veritable tsunami of child self-produced sexual material. Some of our sister hotlines, like the Internet Watch Foundation in the UK, have seen 70% of all child sexual exploitation material created by a queen or a teen on their smartphones in the privacy of their bedroom bathroom, right under their current service noses. Our own safety investigators have also been flooding with these videos, and we can sometimes hear the parents calling for their children down for dinner from the kitchen. I know this sounds daunting, and it is, but we are making progress, but there will always be much more to do. As I said before, we've seen a 20% increase in Australian kids who help together. More kids are feeling that they have the skills and confidence in the state of ours like conversation controls and technology. But this is a miracle. It's not a sprint. And threat trends will continue to change, so we must stay a step ahead. Some of our insights are what shaped the Online Safety Act and what the reforms allow us to regulate now. We've been seeing for some time that cyberbullying is not just happening on social media. It is happening on other platforms such as online dating platforms and dating sites. Today, 1/4 of our cyberbullying reports are about abuse on direct messaging services through DM and chats. So this is hidden to parents and educators, yet highly visible and disruptive to children and young people. There are many more kids using fake or imposter accounts and also utilizing VPNs. Now technology can be used for other antisocial behaviors, and it continues to fuel human wrongdoing. So when we ponder the impacts of COVID, we have to say that during lockdown and periods of isolation, some children and young people were exploring. They were learning. They were entertaining themselves. They were exploring their gender identity and sexuality. They were seeking mental health support where they needed it. They were finding like-minded people on their groups. Our research indicates that 87% of young people were watching online videos. 67% were searching for something new. And 56% were playing games with others. And we could classify much of this as learning online, communicating online, taking part in a community, being creative, and engaging in social relationships. Importantly, we can link their time and activities online to positive effects on their mental health and well-being. For many of these young people, the internet was their lifeline over the pandemic. Moreover, 1/3 of children sought emotional support online in the past year, and many children continue to go online to look for physical, mental, or sexual health information. The research also indicated that the most common areas of support for young people online were friends, social media, and support services. 28% said friends were their main source of emotional support on the internet. 24% said through social media itself. And 18% said they turned to support services such as Beyond Blue, Headspace, the Butterfly Foundation, and Are You OK? This highlights how important it is to let students know that there are ways to get help and that they can refer their friends to. Sometimes the issue might be too big or too hard for children and young people to deal with alone. Now, there are also some macro forces that will shape our work in the near term. There will continue to be a shift towards learning online, working online, and connecting online. Hybrid everything, if you will. There will be advances in technology, such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and algorithms. We'll have to deal with their potential impacts at the intersection of safety, freedom of expression, and privacy. There will be advances in immersive technologies, especially those that blend virtual and actual worlds. These technologies will create hyper-realistic, high-sensory experiences the likes of which we've never known. For sexual assault and rape by default can happen in dark and private online spaces and will feel devastating. The impending paradigm shift is more commonly referred to as the metaverse, and is being mega hyped by the industry. There is also a shift that is both technological and ideological to the decentralized Web 3.0 world. And this is a world built on distributed technology systems, the blockchain and crypto, and imagine an internet of the future without any gatekeepers, whether banking and financial institutions, internet companies, law enforcement, or government regulators. I have yet to meet any crypto bro, metaverse evangelist, or Web 3.0 aficionado that can explain to me how harm is being mediated in this world. While many of them have admitted that CSAM and online abuse could be permanently unknown forever, and that the conduct in the metaverse would be extremely damaging, no one who is architecting this new world seems to see it as their problem to solve. Well, we do at UCC see this as a challenge that needs to be tackled now. That these architects of the metaverse and the Web 3.0 world need to adopt a safety by design mindset now, assess the risks and build the protections today, not tomorrow when it is too late or after the damage has been done. This is not something we can remember tomorrow because there is too much at stake. The time to act is now. Another major influence on our work is, as I mentioned, Australia's reformed online safety act. We need a robust nuance that helps keep pace with these kinds of rapid change, social upheaval, polarization, and the increasing threat we face online, and harmful human behaviors, and a burgeoning outside of content. The Online Safety Act makes Australia's existing regulation for online safety much more expansive and stronger, and has always had bipartisan support. The Act came into force in January this year, and its implementation is driving the purpose. This empowers the Metro role as a real leader in online safety. It places Australia at the international forefront in the fight against online abuse. The focus of our work is upon three primary pillars: protection, prevention, and proactive change. All of this is underpinned by partnerships as more legal entities to achieve all of these online safety outcomes across Australia and Hong Kong. Of course, the internet is global, but laws are essentially local. This is why we work with local, state, national, and international partners. Online safety is an all of society's responsibility that should know no borders or no boundaries. We will continue to work with our online funds by developing resources and programs based on robust evidence. We will continue to protect disabilities and alleviate harm without regulatory influence. Further, we will continue to be proactive in minimizing harms and threats to the future, with initiatives such as Safety by Design. And this is a vital area of our work. Safety by Design is a cultural change initiative which encourages the tech industry to anticipate, detect, and eliminate online risks from the ground up. It is the most effective way to make our digital environment safer and more inclusive, where safety is built in, not just bolted on. We often need to remind people that we're not just a regulator. We are also the designated educator and coordinator of Australia's efforts to tackle online safety issues. Parents are the front line of defense, which is why we have early years education for parents under 5s. Be safe, be kind, make good choices, and ask for help. Previous generations were taught the fundamental arts of education were reading, writing, and arithmetic. Today's digital world demands that we teach young people another set of arts: respect, responsibility, resilience, and critical reasoning skills. A quick rundown of these 4 R's goes something like this. Respect. This is still the golden rule. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Not only should young people show others respect, they should respect themselves online. In this day and age, I think what we really mean is respect yourself. Responsibility. We should teach this from the first weapon iPad. Having access to a smartphone is a privilege, not a right. And it's also a privilege many people around the world still do not have. And with those privileges comes responsibility. We use the technology in ways that doesn't hurt or damage others. Following the rules and limitations set by parents, schools, and the online platforms themselves. Reasoning. It's often difficult for young people to process whether the information they see online is credible or true. But it is critical that we help them discern online fact from fiction. Whether digital misinformation, a social engineering attempt, or an out-of-character post that may suggest a fake or imposter account, it's crucial that young people stop and question everything. We need for them to develop that judgment and reasoning to be able to make decisions in real time, because we will not always be there to over our shoulders when things do go wrong online. And there's no question that deepfakes, scams, and rapid developments in AI mean that discerning what is real and what is not will become even more challenging and not discernible with the naked eye. And that is why it's imperative to cultivate critical reasoning skills now. And finally, resilience. Young people are more likely than not to witness or experiencing confronting content or nasty content online. We know that 1 in 3 teens has been contacted by a stranger or someone they don't know online in the past year. We need to prepare them for this eventuality so they will know how to respond, where to get help and support, but most importantly, to learn from the experience, to bounce back, and to move right on. In the analog age, we didn't talk about the virtues of free-range parenting versus helicoptering, but when I harken back to my own childhood in the 70s and 80s, we were not quite as cocooned or shielded from life as kids are today. Whilst it may seem foreign to us as parents, kids today don't make the same distinctions between their online and offline worlds as we do. Therefore, we need to adapt too by providing kids with the skills and coping strategies to help them find solutions and bounce back from tough situations, whether it's online or in the real world. We'll get better at fighting the threats we know and prepare well for the ones that we know are coming. So as we'd expect, today's golden family hours between end of school and bedtime are unrecognizable from those of the 50s, 70s, and even the early 2000s. However, some truths are timeless. Parents, carers, and educators in all of their forms have always played and will always play a crucial role in helping our children grow into fine adults, educated, confident, and possessing a strong moral compass, comfortable in their own skin, safely navigating their environment, and striving to make the world a better place. Technology can help enable all of these imperatives, but it can also make some of our tasks as parents and the maintenance of the modern family unit more complicated. Ultimately, we want our children to enjoy and benefit from the wonders of the internet, while still remaining aware of its risk. We want them to build the skills and confidence to be able to use all sorts of devices so that they can stay connected with friends and family. We want their online worlds to be places where they can learn and explore, a place where they can imagine and create. Most of all, we want it to be a place that is safer and kinder than it is today. And until we do, our work at the eSafety Commissioner will never be done. Thank you.